Hi, everyone. I'm with Sarah, who has become a really incredible friend through this journey, and it's such a pleasure to get a chance to finally chat with her about all of this. So, Sarah,
Thank you.
thanks for doing this. Um, so let's jump in. Tell us about your topical steroid withdrawal eczema journey, please.
So I had eczema when I was a kid. I used steroids then, probably till, I don't know, maybe grade 7, on and off. And then I stopped using them fully after high school. And then I was dealing with some illness for the last 4 years, and I got a rash. Started using steroids, Protopic actually, for a small period of time. And then when I got off of it in August, my skin just completely freaked out. And I think that was the beginning of my TSW.
And this was August 2023 last year.
Yeah.
And then did everything just kind of start immediately in terms of symptoms?
Yeah, the February of that year, I started getting hives. Wasn't sure exactly what was happening there. And I've had eczema on and off, but it wasn't such a big deal that I ever went past like a drugstore steroid, an over-the-counter steroid. But then I got hives, and the skin thing just wouldn't go away, but I was dealing with other health issues that were louder at the time. And so I was just kind of putting it on pause. And then I made an appointment with a Chinese medicine doctor, but it was a month and a half away. And so during that time, I used Protopic.
How did you find the weather impacted your TSW, maybe your eczema over the course of the time that you were dealing with it?
I didn't think about the weather until I came here.
Okay.
And then once I came here and I talked to Jay,
Yeah.
I feel like the weather back home is not suited for my skin. And I don't think it's ever been, now that I've given it more thought. But I just didn't put the two and two together at that time.
Okay. So we're a year later, August 2024.
Yeah,
How quickly did you decide to make the leap and get to Thailand to try CAP? And how did you hear about CAP?
yeah. Okay. So I made the decision very quickly, but last August I started with the TCM, was doing herbs, was doing red light therapy, PEMF therapy, everything that I could, which helped to an extent. Then it kind of plateaued. And then in January, at the red light therapy clinic, a woman mentioned her niece or somebody related to her did this treatment in Bangkok. But at the time, the TCM was still working, and I was like, okay, I'll just keep going with this. And then I think it was April-ish,
Okay.
I had decided TCM had plateaued. It had been the same for months.
Right.
They just kept telling me to change my diet, and I had done the diets. I had done the cleanses, all of that stuff. It wasn't working. And then there was a little bit of a shame piece around it, I think, where it's kind of like, well, your skin should be reacting to this. So it was not great. And then I ran into the same lady at the red light clinic, and she just mentioned it. And I was like, oh, what is it? I went home, looked on YouTube. Within, I think, a week, I had contacted Jay, and then I made the decision a week later. So 2 weeks it took to make the decision to come here.
Well, I mean, hat off to you to sort of being so aware of what your needs are and just kind of taking that leap of faith. So, congratulations on that, because it's not easy. It's not easy to just decide to travel across the world to get some treatment that you may think may or may not help you. So, yeah, I think that's a cool testament to who you are as an individual.
I think with my prior health stuff, I realized quickly, go where the answers are.
Right.
And I had seen enough on the YouTube videos to go, okay, well, at least this is something, it's not medicated.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go on medicine again. And I felt like there was going to be some answers here.
So tell us about what your condition was when you got to Bangkok, versus what your symptoms were like when TSW just started.
Yeah, okay. So people said I looked relatively normal at that point. I didn't feel normal at that point. It was mainly dry, and my hands were the worst. I had cuts all over my hands at the time. When I got there, it was interesting because almost immediately before I even got CAP treatment, my skin started reacting better in Thailand and in the apartment I was in.
Okay.
So that was quite interesting. And then caps seem to work fairly quickly for me.
What did you learn about your specific case as it relates to Protopic and like when you sat down with Jay for that marathon induction?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would say I learned anything specific about my case. I learned more about irritants.
Okay.
That was the big, and you've heard it all, right? The irritants. But that was the big thing. I didn't know that my environment was making so much of a difference. And I had already done with the other health stuff, I had cleared out everything, like perfumes, fragrances, everything was clean in my house. But actually, I went back 5 weeks later to go visit my husband. I was looking good. I had 5 treatments under my belt. I was still a little bit dry, but it was in a good condition. And I went home, and immediately I had a reaction back at home. So that was good for me to know the second that I got there. Even though we had gotten rid of all of the furniture and everything, there was still something agitating me in that place.
Have you identified what that is, you think?
We think it was mold, so we've dealt with that. I'm going home soon, and then we will see if that's an issue, but we have backup plans now.
So when you did learn about irritants and you were in the induction, did Jay give any indication based on the amount of steroids that you'd used how long you'd be in TSW without the cap device?
We didn't know my steroid use, so it was hard for him to make a call. He said, I think with the cap thing, it would be about 2 years for everything to be fully normal.
And how long or how many treatments did he suggest?
12 treatments, and then I have fungal infection, so then sea and sun.
Okay. And then how do you feel now? You've done the full course.
Yeah.
You've done the sea and sun.
Yes. Oh, and he did say he wants me to continue maintenance for a while, but it's going to get more and more spaced out as we go along.
So leaving Bangkok, because we are, full disclosure, like in Bali right now, living our best life. How did you feel leaving Bangkok and making your way to like sort of the sea and sun piece, which was the second step of the treatment plan? Okay.
Yeah, I felt excited. I need to consider, because a fungal infection, it can go relatively quickly or it can take a long time. And it's sort of one of those things where you have to see as you go. I'm not going to be next to sea and sun for like once I get back to Canada. So I have about a month and a half of sun back in Canada. And then I have to think of the plan after that. So there's a little bit of apprehension. I hope that it's gone by then. There's a possibility that it could be, but it also may not. And I would prefer not to take antifungals. So
talk to us a little bit about your plan when you get home in terms of option A, option B, option C, and what was that thing that happened to you when you got back last time that you're like, oh, I'm not comfortable in my environment?
So it's a long flight home. So I didn't know initially, was it the plane or was it my home? Jay said it would take 48 hours for plane symptoms to subside. So I had planned to go home for 2 weeks. I was there. After the second day, I noticed like it kept getting redder around my hands mainly, and that seems to be where everything, like I know something is happening when it gets red around my hands. And so I was feeling agitated. It didn't regress to pre-cap or anything like that. It was starting to act up. And then my husband and I went to a restaurant. I said I was like irritated, like let's just get out. By the time we got to the restaurant, my skin had already calmed down. So it was good feedback to know, okay, there is really, it's this quick. And I also think that's a bit empowering, even though you have to be a detective, you have to go through and figure all these things out. It's empowering to know it's not random. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. And then you go home, you like leave here tomorrow and you make your marathon journey home. For me personally, when I do like a long haul flight like that, I need probably 4 days to bounce back in my environment. So what's your game plan when you get home? Do flights impact you in the same way?
So we flew to Bali together, and that was 4.5 hours. I didn't notice an impact on my skin this time, so I feel like it was stronger. I did notice last time midway through the flight, which would have probably been 5 hours back home, I was irritated on the plane. I didn't feel that this time, so
it's very exciting. I'm
exciting.
Thrilled to watch your journey progress. You're an take action kind of woman. Yeah, I just don't know if you want to say anything else to anybody else that's watching or any sort of closing comments.
I would maybe say something about not comparing your journey to other people, and everybody deals with illness in different ways. So make sure when you are dealing with it that you surround yourself with people who are positive. And if you ever feel shame in your medical journey, it's not the right place or they're not the right people. So really guard your space because this takes a lot out of you. You want to heal and you don't want to deal with, can I swear?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to deal with other people's shit. Like, you want to
You want
to heal.
You want to be comfortable in your journey and proud of the progress that you're making.
Yes.
And see the progress.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
not to put words in your mouth, but I get
that's
excited by that. Anyways, thanks everyone for watching and thanks
Thank you
for doing this with us, Sarah. Really
Thank you
appreciate
for doing this.
Yay!